All right. I shared it around a couple places. Let me shift my microphone so I can see when somebody says something in the chat. But as you can see, UVS Games sent me a couple Tekken 8 decks. We got June and Jin. And then we've got a couple lower decks. I never know how I'm supposed to say that. Am I supposed to say lower decks? Or like a couple decks of the lower decks Challenger series? So I don't have to say decks. But they sent me Brad, and then they sent me Tendi. So Tendi was the character that I was able to reveal with her entire deck. What's up, Peyton? I'm glad that you're here to join me. It's a little bit of a bummer. All I have is this black drab mat. You know, I really wish I had a better mat to spice things up. Bam! Thank you. We got a lower decks play mat. Let's see how I open this. I really should have opened this before, because now you guys are going to see how bad I am at opening these. There we go. Let's stack these up. Let's see. Should I just lay it on top since I already have my camera placement? There we go. We got the whole crew. We got Sam. Can't remember. Tendi. And wait, who's this one? Oh, that one's Brad. Captain Brad. The alternate art Brad. Dang, I can't remember. I remember the character cards that when they block, you get to ready one. For her, I think it's Bennett? No, it's I can't remember her name. I should have memorized all four of them's names. It's actually a show that I really want to watch with my wife at some time. Right now we're watching Fruits Basket and Arcane Season 2, but Lower Decks is on my list of things to watch. Yeah, I do like the playmat. It's nice. It's got some pizzazz to it. So since we got the Lower Decks playmat, let's start with these ones, and then we'll go over to the Tekken 8 ones. Lower decks, there's 4 total decks. UVS Games sent me 2. You can play them multiplayer against each other. You can play like a format like Triple Threat or make up your own multiplayer format. But they're meant to be played multiplayer. They're challenger decks. That means they're going to be a little more veteran focused. If you pick them up to learn the game, just it might help to find a veteran to play them with to help teach you the game. Whereas the Tekken decks, these are Clash decks. These are going to be much more simple to play than the Lower Decks decks. Than the decks of the Lower Decks Challenger series. So these are Clash decks. These are Challenger decks. Let's start with the Challenger ones. Beckett and Mariner. I knew it. There was a B and there was an M, but I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember the specifics. Which one should we start with? Let's start with Tendi, since this is the one that I revealed. I also am curious about. They have this card for Tendi called Embarrassment of Duplers, where you can play as many as you want in your deck. So you could play like 100 if you wanted to, but they put it in a starter, like a Challenger series package. So I was curious if it maybe came with like extra duplers, or maybe duplers are going to go on the loyalty store, or duplers are just going to be, you know, pretty expensive and drive the value of the Tendi deck. You know, you might be buying it just to get yourself 4 duplers. Those things, I would not be surprised. I actually think it's pretty good too. Okay, we've got Tendi. They each come with 2 different character cards. You can see that they're kind of... Whoa. I didn't know it came with this. This is like a thick card. And it's like holographic, where she disappears and then comes back. But this is like cardstock. Interesting. That's very cool. I really like that. Okay, how do I do these pull tabs? You come over here to the side, you grab the pull tab. There you go. And then it makes it easy because for several of these challenger decks, I did not realize about the pull tab, and I was opening them like a caveman and probably hurting my cards. Okay, so then we get the official Beckett, the one where she doesn't disappear, and it's a normal card width. You can see this like box topper version is thicker. Anyway, I didn't know it came with that. But here we have the normal Beckett. You can cut one to give an attack -1 speed, or if it's your attack, stun 1. 7-hander, 20 health. Anytime a player gains health, their next check gets +1. So if another player gains health in like a multiplayer format, you might let them have +1 to their check if you guys are have some sort of truce or a thing going on. You're trying to help that player at the expense of another one. But for yourself in one-on-one games, it just means anytime you gain health, hey, your next check is +1. If you can stack that a couple times, then you can really string out. If you can string out all these stun 1 moves, I think this character has some legs. There's probably something here. I was trying a Tendi deck with a 4-check tribal. I thought 4-check tribal would be pretty cool in a 7-hander where you could get super wide builds. And then with this check bonuses, maybe you could pass a lot more of these massive attacks, was my thinking. It was working pretty well. And then I died to Bertolt Living Warrior a couple times, or Living Weapon, and got frustrated and stopped. Or you can play with this alternate art Divana Tendi. 6 hand size, 28 health, lose X health. After an attack is played, it gets +X or -6 speed. After your non-throw attack deals damage, your rivals each lose 1 health, and you gain 1 health for each rival you have. I think this character is almost exclusive multiplayer format character. If you're playing a 3-player or 4-player type game, then I could see this bottom response being very, very good. In a heads-up game, give me the 7-hand size version of Tendi. Okay, let's save this for last and check these out. We get a couple emergency treatments, a pretty solid action here. I'm not going to go over every single card, just my favorites. T88. Let's put Brad over here. All of them come with this USS Cerritos. I think it's all the same art, but maybe it's different art. I'm not sure. That's something we'll keep a track of when we open Brad over here. Extreme methods. I think this one is very, very good. 4/4, spend a momentum, 2 speed and 2 damage, gain 2 health. After this attack deals damage, draw 1 card. So it's like a 6/6, gain 2 health version of rapid punches. A 1 mid block. I could see this being thrown into a ton of decks. Syndicate Stills. The UR. This attack is -1 difficulty and -1 to its block modifier if you have lost health this turn. If you're playing Tendi, you will always have lost health. So it's basically a 5-diff, 5/6 echo with a 0 high block. If you're Tendi, your rival's next check to play a block gets -2. So now it's like a 7/6, 5-diff echo in Tendi. That's very, very good. Unyielding Enthusiasm. We get a couple copies. And then it looks like we are into the normal cards. So we get Acts of Piracy with this new keyword Frenzy. +1/+1 for each attack blocked this turn. I love Frenzy. I want Frenzy to stay. I don't know if this is going to be deemed like a, what did Bill Stark call it? Deciduous versus evergreen effects. I'm hoping Frenzy is evergreen because I think that's very, very cool. Punishing string blocking characters like Rodan. Like, hey, you blocked 4 of my attacks, but now this one's coming in with 4/4, becoming like a 6 mid 7, which is very, very good for a 3-diff. Big fan of it. Black Ops Throwdown, 2 high 6 throw with a tiny ability. Liberating Headbutt, powerful 2. If you've gained health this turn, it gets +1/+1. Okay, that's a perfectly fine role player. You're getting 4 of it. 3/5, gain 2 health. We like all these gain health effects when we're also losing health. I was really hoping that Tendi was going to give a lot of support to Ymir too. Another character on the life and fire symbols that the damage goes up and up and up the more that you gain health. Serving Shade. This is another one that I think is going to be pretty good. 4/4, after you lose health, you gain 1 health and this attack gets 1 damage. So if you have like self-cutting cards in your stage and maybe you lose health like 3 or 4 times, this always regenerates the health that you lost and then gets you an extra damage. So if you're playing like a life and fire character, and you're playing like Hiei's card, paying the cost, you can lose the health for a damage and then gain that health back and give it another damage. If we get a lot more like self-cut cards in the future on serving, on the life symbol, I could see this being quite good. Okay, and then here's the Duplers card. So this card says you can play as many copies of it as you want in your deck, and then you can commit this non-throw attack. It's X damage. X equals the number of Duplers you have. So each deck gives you 4 Duplers, but that's it. And you're going to have Dupler decks that want to be running 50 copies of Dupler. So people are going to be needing to buy tons of Tendy decks. Like, I could see these being like, a couple dollars at least a pop. Like maybe they're like $2.50 and this is like $10 and it pays for a third of your deck just to open up some Duplers. I'm kind of worried about how that's going to work. I'm sure that alt art Duplers are just going to be crazy expensive. Or maybe do they have alt art variants, or are these just shiny variants in the collector's booster pack? I can't remember, but I'm positive that it's going to be quite difficult to get 50 Duplers unless they put Duplers on like the loyalty store once these things release here in like a week or so. Yeah, these lower decks are not out quite yet, but they come out this next week. I think December 6th. December 6th is when they officially release and are legal. They will be legal for the Webcam Championship on December 7th. So characters that I see being Dupler characters are like Recovery Girl, because every time you deal damage, you get to build in Duplers from your discard pile. And then once you get like 10 Duplers, that's like 100 damage. Hey, commit them all, give it 100 damage, blow up 2 with Recovery Girl, give it throw. This says non-throw attack, but there's not a throw until Recovery Girl gives it throw. So I could see a character like that actually being a serious Dupler deck. Or like Midoriya 2, for example, when he checks a card that's in his stage, he can build it. So he can reliably build in these Duplers. But I think it's going to be, you could use this with the card, the 2-check in Attack on Titan. It's a 5/5. I think Plow Through Enemies. Every time it gets a damage bonus, you can also respond for 2 speed. So every Duplers you have, hey, commit for 10 damage, give it 2 speed. Commit for 10 damage, give it 2 speed. And pretty soon the thing is just like a 30 for 100 attack. So I think Dupler decks are actually going to be real. Probably not like competitively real for like nationals, but I could see them taking down the locals. So I think Duplers will get pretty expensive. Let's see what else we got. Best Buddies, cute. Buffer Time, 3 copies. Dupler Emissary, this is another Dupler. So you can't run as many of this as you want, but I imagine Dupler decks will run 4 copies of this just to have some 1-diffs. Eager to Please, I think this one's actually pretty dang good. After you take damage, your next check this turn gets +1. You can stack this on itself. So, hey, I took damage, my next check gets 1. Next attack, I took damage again, my next check gets 1. And now your next check gets 2. I could see it being pretty good. 4 copies of it. Makeshift Repair. Piratical Past. Flip your rival's next check to play a block gets -2. Summoned Home. If you've gained health, it gets +1/+1. That's pretty good for a 1-diff, and it's a nice 2 low block. And then we have the cutest card in the entire set, the dog. If you've gained health this turn, your next check to play a card gets +1. If it is your turn and your rival has 11 or more foundations, your next check gets +4. So it doesn't say deadlock, but it's basically pseudo deadlock. But yeah, if you've gained health, your next check gets +1. You can use this on offense and on defense as if it's 3 foundations, but it also has deadlock. So it's kind of similar to Nice Try, to be honest. But Nice Try with deadlock. So now it's a 3-diff instead of a 2-diff. All right, let's open up the pack. What do we get? If you're new to Challenger decks, what you really want to get is an alternate art character. The alternate art characters typically get pretty expensive. Shoot the Moss. You can open cards from all 4 of the decks in each collector booster. So not just 10D cards here. Attention to Detail. Secret Past. Brad Boimler by the book design. Alternate art character. Plot. And hey, I like this one. A holographic Serving Shade. Nice. Speaking of Brad, we've got Brad coming up right here, but we got the other version, 6 hand size, 27 health. No, this is the main version. After you play a diplomacy card, your rival commits a foundation. Each player draws 1 card. You can draw a card on every single attack of your turn. That's got to be pretty good. And if you're stunning them out, who cares that you're giving them cards if they're completely stunned out? They can't block you anyway. There we go. Join the Starfleet for swag. Nice. I have no idea how rare these alternate art characters are going to be this time around. But we saw like alternate art Dekus and alternate art Godzilla characters going for like over $100 per character card. I'm not sure Brad is going to fetch over $100, but a very, very good pull nonetheless. Probably at least like if I just purchased this for $30, right? That probably paid for the box. All right. Speaking of Brad, let's open the Brad. Let's put my holographic ones over here. The bulk of the deck. Duplers. I really hope they put duplers on the loyalty store. I really hope they do. All right, Brad time. If you're here in the chat, feel free to ask me questions, talk. We're just hanging out. I'm not going to edit this, and then, it's not like everybody has to stay quiet. Let's see what we get. I'm telling you, this thing goes a long way with me. I don't know why, but I really like it. And if I was playing Brad, well, I guess now that I'm playing Brad, I'm definitely playing this version. Normal Brad, cool Brad. I think Brad is one of those characters, like, he's locked into diplomacy cards. I think he was very good. If diplomacy was like a keyword all across universes, like Fury or something, then I think, or like Weapon with Toga, then I think he would actually be quite good. Since he's locked into diplomacies, I think he's held down a little bit in terms of standard. You can still make a pretty powerful deck, I think, for locals because the diplomacy cards in here are pretty good. They're not bad. So I think he's competitive enough, but I don't think he's like nationals tier unless they someday print more lower decks cards, or maybe the diplomacy. Diplomacy is like for these attacks here. I'll find a diplomacy. Look, here's a random one. Diplomacy. Your rival chooses one. This attack is 3 speed, or this attack is 3 damage. Diplomacy means that like this card is going to have an ability where your rival gets to choose some sort of benefit for you. Typically, this is going to be statted very well, but your rival gets to choose which. So like, hey, 3 speed, 3 damage, that's awesome. But since my rival's picking, if they're not going to block, they're probably going to say, put it on the speed. If they are going to block, they're going to say, put it on the damage. So your rival gets to choose, which is a big downside, but the effects to compensate for that are typically quite good. And now when you play a diplomacy card, your rival commits a foundation. So diplomacy could be here to stay. If it's here to stay, then Brad's going to be pretty good. If it's only here for lower decks, then he's probably just a locals character. Hologram cards are really cool. This set, hands down, will get my girlfriend into UVS. That's kind of what I'm hoping with my wife, honestly. I'm hoping that like a little more chill multiplayer games of universes might start to take off. I don't know if the answer is necessarily triple threat, if we can come up with a 4-player variant where all 4 of the lower decks characters battle each other. I was hoping that something would be like a 4-player UVS variant would get released at the same time as these decks, but UVS hasn't given it to us yet, so it's going to take someone in the community coming up with it. Brad Boimler, Acting Captain, 721. If it is your turn, each player discards a card and draws 1 card. If there are 2 or more attacks in a player's card pool, each player commits a foundation. So, on your first attack, you get a free discard 1, draw 1. Basically, you get to see 8 cards. That's very good. And then if you want to discard 1 and draw 1 again, it's going to cost you committing 1 and your rival committing 1. But you can also do this on your rival's turn. So the first sentence of the enhance is your turn, but the second sentence of the enhance can happen on both turns. So if there are 2 or more attacks in a player's card pool, each player commits a foundation. So you can be stunning your rival on their turn. I think that's a very, very good effect. Response: after a rival commits 1 or more foundations during the enhance step, this attack gets +1 or -1 damage. I think this guy's pretty dang good, honestly. I think he'll be surprisingly powerful, might make a splash in standard play. I think he's a better Sero 2, honestly. Sero 2's been one that a lot of people have been trying to make work, but he was a 626, and this guy's a 721, which is much better. All right, Replicator Enthusiast. I forgot what this action does, but I remember it was good. Remove, choose 1 foundation in your stage, build 1 foundation from your discard pile with the same name as the chosen foundation. Your rival may build the top card of their deck. Okay, that is good. So you can build basically anything in your discard pile that you have already built in your stage. So remember how we opened Tendi and you had this dupler? Well, they share the same symbol. So remove this and build in another duplers. I'm sure there's much, much better applications than a dupler, but since they were right there, that's the first thing that came to mind. Combadge. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. Not that. A mini Rodan right there. USS Cerritos. I hope I said it right. Otherwise, fans are going to be upset at me. Inconvenient Duplication. 3/3 Echo. Each player may build the top card of their deck. This attack is +1/+1 for every 3 foundations in your rival's stage. Okay. So you do get to build 1, and that feeds into this blitz. So we play this one first. If they were at 8 foundations, now they're at 9. Now this thing is getting 3/3. It's a 6/6. It built us 1, so it's as if it's a pseudo 4 diff instead of a 5 diff. 6/6 Echo on a 4 diff is kind of crazy. Yeah, that makes sense. So this is one of those things. It gets better and better the longer that a game goes on. Okay, Survey Mission. 3 mid 7, throw. Your rival chooses 1. Reveal their hand. This attack, your attacks get +1/+1 for the rest of this turn, like a city rampage. Your rival commits 2 foundations as if it was stun 2. After your rival draws 1 or more cards, this attack gets 2 damage. Okay, so every time your rival's drawing, this gets 2 damage. This guy is forcing your rival to draw. This guy is forcing your rival to draw. So this thing is going to get at least 2 damage from that. So it's going to be like a 9 damage throw, and it's going to be doing one of these things your rival chooses. I think that's pretty good. How many duplers come in these decks? Only 4. So if you want to play 40 duplers, you're going to have to buy 10 decks. 10 Tendi decks. There you go. Rule Stickler. After your rival builds 1 or more foundations during the combat phase, commit 1 of those foundations. Okay. It's interesting. So if you use like this and you made them build, hey, now you're going to commit 1 of those. Hunt for Cranch. 4/5 stun 1. A Diplomacy. We got the Punch Me a Way Out Diplomacy. Second Contact. 4/4. If you have exactly 2 attacks in your card pool, this does not count towards progressive. I could see this finding play. If you have exactly 2. So it's probably 1, and it has powerful 3. I could see this being standard competitive. You probably only play a couple copies of it because you don't want to see 2 of it in a turn. And it has to be played as your second card. But it's a 4 diff, so it's made for that. 3 diff, 2 low 3. After this attack deals damage, freeze a rival foundation or get some freeze support for the order symbol, which has been big in Attack on Titan. We get the Shoot the Moss, which we saw earlier. A Mesmerizing Mission. I think this one's very, very good. After your attack is blocked, your next attack gets Frenzy. So it's a 1 diff that basically can commit for like, let's say it was their 3rd block. Committing a 1 diff for +3/+3, that's kind of crazy. Very, very deserving of a 3 high block and a 4 check. Those things kind of hold it back. But this this commit is awesome. I want to see like a frenzy deck tribal or something, or a way to re-ready this. If you had a way, like it's on the life symbol, so you could like use repeated 100% smash, right? Hey, we're going to give our next thing +2/+2, and then repeated ready it, and then our next thing +3/+3. I can see it being awesome. Banana, hot. Remove. After this card enters your discard pile from your hand or your stage, you gain 1 health. Interesting. Okay. We see firepower. Well, I guess, well, there's some characters that can maybe play firepower and this at the same time. Whenever it goes from your discard pile, from your hand or your stage. Oh, from your hand or your stage. They're starting to add that. So firepower doesn't work on it. But if you destroy it, it goes to your discard pile, then you get to gain a health. That's pretty cool. So this is also a life card, kind of working with Tendi, to where if we destroy this, we gain a health. Our next check gets +1. I can see this being very good. This is a neat 0 diff. It doesn't take much for 0 diffs to find play. And honestly, when things like basic training and easily excited rotate out next year, it's not going to take much at all. Beta shift. Each player draws 1 card. All right. It's like a poor man's chivalrous competitor. Bold Boimler. 1 damage for each card your rival's drawn. Max 3. Why'd they have to put the max? Come on. You didn't put a max on duplers. Don't put a max on this. That's lame. Oh, it doesn't have a flip cost. I guess if it had a flip cost, you don't give it a max. Chronically dehydrated. That's not good for you. Discard a card. This attack gets 2 damage. Sacrifice. Oh, that's repeatable. That's pretty good. Sacrifice a foundation. Freeze 1 ready rival foundation. And then if you get it committed, then it's frozen and can't get back up. First contact day. Commit 2 rival foundations. Okay. While this card is ready in your stage and there's a diplomacy card in your card pool, your rival attacks get -1 speed. So if you had like all 3 of these in your stage and you have a single diplomacy card in your card pool, all of your rival attacks that turn are just getting -3 speed. It does have to stay ready though, but it's a neat concept. Special assignment. After your rival draws 1 or more cards during the combat phase, they choose 1, discard a card at random, or lose 2 health. All right, I like that. We're hurting them. There's so much free draw in the game right now. It's nice to punish it a little bit. Tricorder scan. If your rival has 3 or more cards in hand, this attack gets -2 speed or +2 damage. Sorry, I was reading that. Sorry, a lot of these Brad cards I have not read as thoroughly as the Tendi cards since I got to reveal Tendi. Twin Twains. After your rival chooses an option for an ability on diplomacy card, they choose 1 other option to add to that ability's effect. This one is worded, I think, terribly. But what it's meaning is that, like, for example, this Blitz, they choose 1 and then they choose another one. And I'm still not sure if they have to choose the other one or if they're allowed to choose, like for example, if you had all of these in your stage and you used all of them, can they choose ones over again? I'd have to go to the rules questions Discord section of the Discord to see. But there is Brad's deck, all focused around those diplomacy cards where we say, hey, we all draw. And when I play these diplomacy cards, you are going to have to commit something. Okay, can we get another alternate art character? Or can we get some holographic duplers? Somebody out there, with like $1 million is going to buy 60 holographic duplers. Special assignment. Rule of acquisition. Don't do this. Excited blows. 3 mid-4. After it's blocked, your next attack this turn gains frenzy. And it has frenzy. That's going to be pretty good. So you could play this as like your 3rd attack. Give it +2/+2. Now it's like a 5 mid-6. And if it's blocked, my next one's going to get 3/3. Memory upgrade. Best buddies. So there you go. Those were our 2 best challenger pulls. Excited Blows and a Brad Boimler alternate art. Now I kind of want to play Brad for like my my local qualifier on December 7th to show off the swag. Okay, where should I put these? I'll put these here. We got these two thick cards over here. I wonder if I'll use those as like bookmarks or something. I'll use them for something cool. And now for the Tekken Clash decks. Okay, these lower decks, some of the cards are a little bit complex. It's giving you assets and actions. But these Tekken decks are super, super simple. Great for beginners to jump into the game, start playing it right away. When rotation happens, don't we lose a lot of the zero diffs? So that card is welcomed. Yeah, we're going to lose a lot. We're going to lose Surviving the Final from Crimson Rampage, Easily Excited, and Basic Training. Yeah, those are the big ones. But those, I think, might be the 3 best zero diffs at the moment. Okay, don't be like me and just destroy. But I do find that these Challenger and Clash decks are easiest to open from the bottom, which I think is counterintuitive. But if you try and open them from the top, it's like very difficult to do. So I'll show you. Like, you can see like the decks are always right at the bottom. So it's much, much easier to open from that. Was Unfazed not in those decks? No, Unfazed is in... I only got to open Brad and Tendy, but Unfazed is in Sam's deck, I think. Sam Rutherford's. You have Beckett, Mariner, and then Sam Rutherford. So these Clash decks do not come with like a special Challenger booster pack of alternate arts. It just comes with the 2 decks. Let's read these characters. First off, we got Jin. He is the easier of the 2 characters to play with, in my opinion. You get to commit. This attack gets +1/+1 for each attack in your card pool. And then you get to, if your rival has 8 or more foundations, this attack gets +1/+1. So if your rival has 8 or more foundations, you can say +1/+1. And then on your last attack of the turn, commit, give it, I don't know, +5/+5 or something. You know, finish off with like a 3-diff finisher, slam 10 stats on it. The downside to this character is you're not getting any defense. And then once you commit, you can't do that +1/+1 anymore. So on your final attack, you want to do this +1/+1 first, and then this enhance, and make it a good one. Now, there is a card in this deck. Let me go find it. That re-readies him. Let's see. It's this one right here. The Devil Gene. It says, destroy if your character is Jin Kazama, ready your character. So if you build this foundation, then you can use that super powerful enhance twice. But this guy is all offense, no defense. So he's pretty simple, I think, for a beginner, because you're only having to think about your character on your turn. You're always pressing this enhance button, so there's not really a point to thinking about it. Whereas a lot of characters have buttons that you might want to press in certain situations, might not want to in others. This guy is just, hey, it's the easy button. Always press it. You don't need to keep this guy ready for defense, so you can always press the top enhance as well. Not too much to think about with them. We get this 3-diff, so we can finish it out on a string, and then we can slam all of our damage on this. This attack is +1 damage for each attack in your card pool. So if this is our 5th attack, we're going to give this thing 5 damage. Now it's a 3/7, and then we're going to give this thing +1/+1. It's going to become a 4/7 or 4/8, and then we're going to give it +5/+5, and now this thing's going to be like a 9-low. I can't keep track of the math. 9-low 13. It'll be pretty dang good. We have his ultra rare 6-diff 4/7. Your rival's next check to block this attack is -3. Basically, it's a 7/7 on a 6-diff with EX3. It's not bad. 2-diff. Remove if your rival has 8 or more foundations. Their next check to block this attack gets -3. All right, so remove for effectively 3 speed. We get the Devil Jin. We already looked at this one earlier. But you can see that most of these cards only have one effect, and they're all following a pretty simple game plan. So 4-diff, 4 mid 4, powerful 2. If your character's committed, draw 1 card. So, you know, if we slam all of our damage on it or all of our stats on it, then we get to draw a card. That's not too bad. A lot of characters might like this, like if you're playing like Air Rodan or something, where you don't mind your character being committed. Geyser, 1/4, +1 speed for each attack in your card pool. Another 3-diff. So we like 3-diffs in Jin because we're trying to string out, because the more attacks in our card pool, the more stats we get. 6-3 stun 1. That's fine. That's a really good poke attack in this. 0 low 4 throw. Your rival commits 1 foundation for each kick or punch in your card pool. That's pretty neat. Play this as our third. It's like a stun 3, 4 damage throw. Switchblade 4-4. If it's, then it gets, it's like a 4 diff 5-5 basically. Not bad. Commit for -2 speed or -3 speed. That's good, but we typically see something like that on a 1 diff instead of a 2 diff. +1 damage for each attack in your card pool. That's pretty dang good. A 1 diff destroying for like 4, maybe 5 damage sometimes. I could see it finding play. Let's see this guy. Flip, spend a momentum. Your next check gets -2 difficulty. Destroy, clear 1 non-attack card from your card pool. Okay. If we're playing like firepower, we could destroy to clear the firepower. If they're playing like against Mineta 2, then we could clear that out. That's going to come in handy because June is always stuffing our card pool. So, but in most other decks, this would just be sideboard card. 2 diff, commit. If it deals damage, your next one gets 3 damage. This one is interesting. I think could find some play. Remove if you've dealt damage. Draw 2 cards. A 0 diff that ignores progressive when you block with it. 1 diff, flip for +1/+1. This one's pretty good. A 1 diff flipping for 1/1, and it's not like keyword locked into anything. I like that. You get 4 copies. 2 diff, your attack gets +2 speed. If you've dealt damage, it gets 2 damage. Warped Intentions, it gains stun 1. This one's interesting because there's some cards where if it already has stun and then you give it another instance of stun, there's some cards where like you can improve all of those stun 1s to stun 2s or things like that. So foundations like this, you want to be careful with. They might not seem like much on the surface, but it can get very good in a character that says like increase all your keyword ratings by 1 or something like that. If this attack has received a speed and damage bonus, it gets stun 1. So there you go. That is the Jin Kazama deck. This is the one I recommend if you are an absolute beginner to the game and you buy these Clash decks. Play Jin. Nice, simple stats. It teaches you to play the game. You want to play the orange cards in your hand. You get benefit the more that you string out. You want to build a lot early so that you can play a longer string, because the more you build, the bigger you can get that top enhance. June is still for beginners, but June is much more defensive and plays both ways, offense and defense. But a much more think-heavy character. You'll have a lot of decisions to make as June. So whoever's the more experienced player, I would suggest play June. If you're a total beginner, go ahead and play Jin. But June is a 7-hand size, 22 health character. After an attack deals damage, your rival adds the top card of their deck to their card pool face down. You have to commit for that. But you can spend a momentum to ready this card. So if you take damage, you can commit, stuff their card pool, spend a momentum, ready up, take damage again, commit, stuff their card pool. You can do this on defense or on offense. So anytime your rival basically has to block your moves, otherwise you're going to make them all harder to block by committing and stuffing their card pool. And then on defense, like for example, if we were going against a character like Bertolt 2 at the moment, the boogeyman, a powerful way to deal with Bertolt is to clog his card pool, because he's typically trying to kill you on only 3 foundations. So clogging his card pool can go a long way. The downside is you only have 22 health, and you have to take, it's after an attack deals damage. So if you want to use this defensively, you have to be taking a hit. And if it's like turn 2 or turn 3, you might not even want to take a single hit. So you can see where this character gets complex to play. You have to know when to block and when not to block. Because the sooner that you don't block, the more powerful this response is, because it's affecting more of their checks. If you use it early and they play 3 more attacks, then you hurt 3 checks. If you use it late and they only play 1 more attack, you only hurt 1 check. So you have to know, is this a turn I want to block? Is this the attack I should be blocking? Is this the attack I should let through? It's going to be pretty complex. And I imagine that a lot of like beginners are going to buy these decks. Jin is just going to wipe the floor because he's easier to play. And then they're going to say, wait a second, these decks aren't balanced because Jin is always winning. But the decks are balanced. It's just this has a higher skill floor to play. Okay. 6 difficulty, 4 mid, 8. Your rival adds the top card of their card pool to their card pool face down. It's like +1 speed all of your attacks, basically. If you don't know, the water symbol is kind of known for clogging the rival's card pool. Sorry, my phone's freaking out. Is known for clogging your rival's card pool, so it's nice to have an effect like this. 3 diff, 3/3, powerful 3. The power to stop Jin. Commit, your attack gets +1/+2. Destroy and spend a momentum gets +2/+5. So with June, we're lacking that offensive firepower that Jin has. We're playing like a more cerebral game. But with this 3 diff, we can stack 5 damage on something and find a finisher. If you've dealt damage this turn, add this card to your momentum. All right, so we can add to the momentum to ready June so that we can continue clogging their card pool. 3 low 4. If we've clogged our rival's card pool or they have by blocking, we get to draw. This one could see play. It could see play like a good Mirio. It is a punch. So it's already a low though, where Mirio would change it. But it's a draw. You know, as long as they played 1 block, you get to draw. That's not bad for a 3 low 4. Stun 2, 2 low 5. If you have at least one other punch, this gets +1/+1. So we saw a 4 diff 5/5 in June's. Now we see and Jin's. Now we see a 4 diff 5/5 for June. Izumo EX2 3/6. Your next one gets 3. Tsukuyomi. After you play this attack, if your rival has at least 1 face down card in their card pool, ready a face down, and this attack gains throw. So if you get to play this response, it's a 3 mid 5 throw that's basically a 3 diff. That's pretty dang good. 0 diff, 2 high block, that's already fine. Flip for +1 or +1. For a 0 diff, that's respectable. After you block with this card, your rival commits a foundation. Okay, it's like breaker 1. Spend a momentum, add it to your hand. No, I'm not seeing it. 1 diff, Angelic Heart, flip. If you have dealt damage, your attack gets 2 speed. I'm fine with the 1 diff flipping for 2 speed, but I don't want it to have to have dealt damage. You know, you're trying to get speed so that you can deal damage. If you've already dealt damage, I don't know. That one seems a little out of order to me. Like, it should be if you have not dealt damage yet. Then you want to get the speed. Destroy 1. Your punch gets +1 and +1. I've already seen this finding play in Mirio decks. Like, for example, when you combine this with Phantom Threat, destroy something for +1/+1, respond Phantom Threat for +1 speed, and now you got another instance of damage. Diverting Energy. This attack gets 2 speed. You -2 speed. You may flip this card. If you do this attack, it's -4 speed. I think this one's pretty good. Commit for -2 speed or -4 speed in a pinch. Ecological Fighter. Flip, ready a face down if you've dealt damage. Ready 2. This one would be good, except they hit it with a forecheck. I think the forecheck holds this one back. I don't like things that like, oh, this is going to help my progressive. But then if I check it, it hurts my progressive. It's like, I'd rather just upgrade to a 5 check and then get me a different ability. 1 diff, 2 low block. Destroy. If your rival has 8 or more foundations, they add the top card of the card pool to their card of their deck to their card pool. 2 diff, flip. If there's a punch attack in your card pool, draw 1 card. That's fine, but I think it could have probably been a 1 diff. 2, if they have 2 cards in their card pool, your attack is +3 damage. That's going to be very important in June because, again, we need that damage. We're not adding big stats by ourselves. So that is the June deck. June is more my style. Like if I was playing these two decks into each other, June is more my style. So I think what I would do is say, okay, the person that I'm teaching, you play Jin, I'll play June, and then we can play. Once you get the hang of it, maybe you take a turn at June and see if you can survive despite being a 7-hander. who plays a little complex. So all in all, I think Gen's like the easiest, and then you can go to June. And then if you're getting those down, then grab some of these lower decks, challenger decks, and start playing with assets and actions and frenzy and all of these extra abilities. You saw that these were keeping it, you know, every card. It felt like most cards were just kind of dealing with stats, right? Speed, damage, keeping this very, very simple. You know, we're throwing in a little bit of stun, throwing in a little bit of throw, these evergreen keywords that are always going to be around. But when you go to the challenger decks, you're getting to these like goofy things with like the duplers. You're getting other keywords like frenzy, assets, actions, and then this multiplayer function. But these are going to be a little more standard competitive than these. These characters aren't bad, but they're definitely a step below most standard characters. Like I would say like both these characters are like C+. Whereas these characters I think are like solid B tier. I don't think the lower decks is giving us any crazy meta relevant characters, to be honest. But very, very solid B tier characters. They are certainly not unplayable and can certainly take down a locals, and wouldn't surprise me if a lower decks character tops nationals, you know, makes it into the first round of top cuts. Well, that is it for me. I'm kind of losing my voice, to be honest, over here. I'm going to be doing a couple more box openings soon. Rochester, here, I guess you can't see it on my camera, but Rochester sent me 3 boxes, retro boxes to open. I'm not going to do it tonight, but I'll do it sometime before nationals. Webcam Championship is December 7th for the 16 players that did the best in my webcam circuit, Tam and I's webcam circuit. They're going to go to the Webcam Championship where $3,000 is on the line. Make sure you watch on December 7th. It's going to be streamed on Tam's Twitch. We're going to be doing 5 rounds of Swiss, and then the top 4 go to a top cut single elimination playoff. I'm going to be doing player interviews. I'm going to try at least with all 16 players and releasing player interviews over the next couple weeks. I am going to try and make a video here. It's been a month since I'm taking a break until nationals of like pre-recorded content. But I am going to try and make a video, I think, on my top characters to prepare for nationals. And I'm going to interview my teammate George, who made his own My Hero Academia Final War arc set, fan-made set. I've already played a couple rounds with him with it, and it was very, very fun. He's got some very unique takes on mechanics in universes. If you're watching UVS games and you watch that video, you might want to hire George onto your design team because he's got some really, really cool ideas. But that's going to do it for me. These are already at your local game store. These will be at your local game store in a couple weeks. If you were hanging out tonight, I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.